Hello and welcome back to the Sky Mobile Transfer Show, where we discuss the latest links, rumours and deals taking place across the summer window. With the Premier League about to kick off, we are discussing who has had the best window going into the new campaign, and I'm joined by two of the biggest and brightest football minds out there, Carl, Anka and Nieve. How's it going?
Yeah, good time. Good.
Yeah. Good to have you back on the show, Carl. I believe you're making your debut on the Transfer Show.
This is nice. New season, new show. This is fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, how are you feeling going into the new campaign?
Pretty confident. I've also had 5 coffees today, so that's what the new season does to me.
Sweet. So it's going to be a high energy episode today. Let's get straight into it, because we are going to be discussing who we think have been the winners of the transfer window so far. I'll start with you, Carl. Who have been your winners of the transfer window so far?
Now, winning the transfer window before a ball's been kicked. Fun question always. This summer I read Ian Graham's book, How to Win the Premier League. Highly recommend it. And he posits that a successful transfer is a player who is playing 50% of your Premier League games 2 years from now. And I read that and I went, oh, that seems really easy. And then you sort of think about it really, really hard and go, oh, actually, no, there's loads of players who were brought in for loads of hype and bluster and didn't necessarily play as many minutes as you thought they would 2 years from there. However, to stop filibustering you, I really, really, really like the moves Everton have made this summer. So perhaps not the glitz and glamour of the top 6, not spending money in the same way that, say, Chelsea have or Tottenham Hotspur have or Manchester City have, or even Manchester United. But I really like what Everton are doing. I like the fact it's always quite fun when a manager with such a very clear idea of how to play as David Moyes gets in charge of a team, gets some window and goes, right, now we're going to play David Moyes football. So Thierno Barry coming over from Villarreal. He's a striker I think has phenomenal potential. He's like tall, he like using the word rangy for him. So really tall, really lean. Was really, really impressive with that Villarreal 4-4-2. I think Moyes is going to really enjoy turning him into a lone striker. He's got pretty good attacking ability, decent finishing range. And whether or not he's going to be the sort of high energy presser remains to be seen. But he seems really, really interesting. If you look at that Everton, the most common used Everton 11, they've lost Ashley Young, they've lost Gyokeres, they've lost Dominic Calvert-Lewin as well. So Barry comes in to replace Calvert-Lewin. It's looking like Jack Grealish is going to come in on a loan deal and he's going to play as a number 10. They've also got Charlie Alcaraz, I should say. That loan has been made permanent. So they've filled in some of the blanks and some of the parties, and they are becoming more Moyes-esque, which I think is what Everton need. When you move to a brand new stadium, you want to get into a place where you're fun, but also you're not losing 3 or 4-0 as you're just getting used to things. And I think the way Everton has spent money this summer has been sensible.
Yeah, I guess that's an interesting point to get onto, because they've invested a lot in attacking midfield areas. They've invested a centre forward, of course. I guess the areas of the squad now which are still looking a bit thin, you probably think right wing, no specialist right winger there, right back, pretty thin on the ground there, centre back too. Do you think Everton are in danger of being a bit too top heavy at this moment in time? Are there, areas that you'd look to strengthen still before the end of the season?
I also think it's quite interesting that we're talking so early in August and no one's really made a bid for Jared Brathwaite, right? This is someone who Manchester United made a very interesting inquiry towards at the start of the Euros last summer, and that seems to have gone away. I think if you can retain him for one more summer, that'll keep you ticking along. Maybe they could do with an additional body in central midfield, although Dewsbury-Hall is a really tidy connector. I think he's perhaps not the flashiest individual, but he can just keep things going in the middle third as well. So yeah, Everton are going to be fine. I feel Everton are going to be fine this season, and there's been so many seasons in recent years where I haven't been able to say that with confidence. And everything Everton's doing right now makes sense, and that is pleasing. And that's what you want from some of your transfer windows. It's not necessarily let's go out and spend loads of money and shiny new toys, but can we retain our best players, which I think they are doing that very, very well? Can we replace the players that we are losing, either through sales or players leaving at the end of their contracts, and they're doing that really, really well? And can we make things fun if we're going to a brand new stadium? I think a player like Jack Grealish, yeah, okay, a little bit of boom-bust potential because he hasn't necessarily had the best 2 seasons, but there's some 2 thumbs up from me, from Everton. Nice one.
Nice. I mean, you raise a good point there in terms of them keeping their star players as well. It will be interesting to see how they split minutes between Dewsbury-Hall, between Alcaraz, Grealish, Iliman and Jai as well, all like to take up similar positions, but obviously great to have that much depth in forward areas. So yeah, could be an interesting season. Before we move on, where do you see Everton finishing this season as things stand?
I think they're going to be firmly in the Premier League middle class. So let's call that a range between 14th and 8th.
Okay.
I think they can end up there. The interesting for me is how they're going to adjust to leaving Goodison Park. More than one journalist left, this is my final game at Goodison Park, and left the stadium, went, might be a bit dangerous. Goodison Park's worth maybe 6 to 10 points. Whereas I think the way they have spent money will help them have a feel-good factor quite early on in the season. You want to get some wins under your belt while things are sunny, so when things are cold, you're not just going, why are we here? This is soulless. So yeah, I think they're going to have a good season. I think we know how a David Moyes team plays and how they play well. They don't like to get, when they are down by 2-0, they sort of shut up shop and they don't want to lose by 4-0. And I think they're going to be absolutely fine.
Yeah, and I guess having David Moyes there, having that familiarity, helps bridge the gap between the old and new stadium. He turned Goodison into such a fortress, didn't he, in the 2000s? So, you'd hope that maybe that familiarity will help do that. Nieve, who have you got down as your winners of the transfer window so far?
So when you haven't seen them kick a ball and you can't really work out how good a player is going to be, especially in that new team. I like to go off the general feeling that the transfer window is creating, and whether or not it means that the supporters, the club, will go into a season feeling assured, feeling confident. And so that's why I've gone with Sunderland.
Okay, nice.
Because I think there is such a buzz, a positive buzz. They're really taking it seriously. It's looking like it's around 150 million they're hitting now and spending. They're breaking club record deals to make signings for Habib Diarra as well. And him and Simon Adingra are both examples of a more sort of direct, faster player, which I think we're seeming to see as a direction a lot of clubs are taking at the moment in this sort of current Premier League era. And Xhaka's a fantastic signing. It's brilliant. And yeah, I think the supporters seem really chuffed by it, and there's a general feel like we could stay up. And I think to create that feeling in a transfer window as a promoted club is really important.
You mentioned Diarra there, obviously Xhaka as well. Is there a signing who you're particularly excited by, or was there a signing when Sunderland made it you were like, okay, I have to start taking them seriously?
Yeah, I do think Xhaka. I think Xhaka's great because I think it's a sign of your project being good as well. The conversations they must have had for him to go there must have been really positive, because we've seen, like Leeds United, for example, they've had a few situations where they've gone. It looks like, I don't know what the truth is or what's rumour, what's not rumour, but it looks like the perception is that they've got a striker that they've got a player that they're interested in, for example, a striker. They were looking at Rodrigo Muniz at Fulham, not making that happen. There's now talk that it could be Dominic Calvert-Lewin that they get. And it's that idea of just little things like that can knock you off a little bit, where you're like, oh, you're not getting that one that you want. And I just think with Xhaka, to be able to, that's a player that I thought, we really want him, and they've got him in.
Yeah, I mean, amazing signing. Certainly one of the best of the window. And yeah, like you say, I think the noise is coming from Xhaka as well, that, he only wanted to go to Sunderland. He left Leverkusen. And I know there's been an exodus out of Leverkusen this year, but yeah, to capture a player who, really is kind of world class when it comes to his passing, it is amazing for Sunderland. I mean, they've signed so many, players. Yeah, it's kind of mad, and they do seem to have strengthened in key areas now, especially with Rolfs in goal, Alderete at centre back as well. Great record for Getafe in La Liga. Are there any areas that you think Sunderland still need to strengthen in if they want to, be serious about staying in the Premier League this season?
Getting a blend of the talent and the youth that they've got and that experience. I think maybe they could do with one more player like Xhaka. I'm not sure what the position would be, who is a little bit older, a bit more experienced, just to help. But the key thing for me with them as well is the stuff that Regis Lebris says I'm sort of taken by, and as well. So I've got positive feelings about them.
Yeah, certainly compared to, like you say, with Leeds, Daniel Farke, question marks over him going into the start of the season. Scott Parker as well at Burnley. hasn't had a great record as a Premier League manager in the past. So certainly, really exciting project there. Okay, let's move on to some of the bigger clubs in the league, because you've both picked quite, well, certainly with Sunderland, who are going to be battling relegation this season, Everton are looking to break into mid-table. Is there anyone from, say, the title contenders, and let's say that's, Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City and Chelsea, out of those four, who do you think, who have you been most impressed by in the transfer window so far?
Oh, heaven forgive me. Liverpool are fun, aren't they? They're super fun. I don't know how good they're going to be. I don't know if they're going to score 100 goals in the Premier League and finish second. I don't know if they're going to win the Premier League at a canter. I don't know if they're going to win the Champions League and everything, or if they're going to somehow flip the switch and end up conceding loads of goals in the last minute and then go 2-2. But that Community Shield, that was so fun to watch. I think going into this summer, it became very, very clear that they were probably going to have to rework both the left-hand side and the right-hand side. They've done that brilliantly. Gyokeres, left back, excellent. Really, really good on underlapping runs. You've got Jeremie Frimpong, who we've just spoken before about the exodus from Bayer Leverkusen. I mean, Frimpong he's sometimes it feels unfair to call him a right back because he plays at such an advanced level. And the fact that Arne Slot has already talked about the fact that Frimpong might be able to fill in for Mohamed Salah when Salah goes away in AFCON. So you've completely sorted out your fullback issues. Done. Boom. Big tick. Then you go off and get a player like Florian Wirtz. Superlative after superlative after superlative after superlative after superlative. He's phenomenal. The ability he has to make the ball stick and play in these tight little spaces in and around the final third, going around the half spaces. You're going, no, that's stuff you're only supposed to get in the computer games. So that's super exciting. Then you've put in a player like Hugo Ekitike, who, that was a great goal at Community Shield, wasn't it? And you're like, okay, that's fun. That's really fun. So you've completely strengthened your fullback areas. You've got in a number 10 who, at least to my mind, there were parts of 2024 where I thought he was top 5 player in the world, maybe even top 3. There were little stints where you go, this is just, when Leverkusen were going unbeaten, a lot of it is give the ball to Florian Wirtz and let him work it out. And the idea that Liverpool's attack could be run through a player like him is super exciting. If you're a football fan that goes, oh, football is boring, football is dying, everyone's just robotic, watch Wirtz. He's nice. And now maybe, possibly, I have no idea. This is August. The window's going to shut in September. Someone from Newcastle might arrive as well. So, okay, it's very exciting if you're a Liverpool fan. If you're not a Liverpool fan, it's very exciting because they're so top heavy. Yeah. They might end up winning loads of games 4-3, and that's quite fun to watch as well. So, yeah, I have no idea if this is actually going to pay attention to all the rules that Ian Graham outlined in his book, but it is super fun to watch. And good luck to Konate, because my God, you're going to have a lot of defensive space to cover.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a good thing to chat about. Very top heavy recruitment. The fullbacks, both like to push high. I thought Gyokeres looked amazing against Palace, especially in the first half. Is there a danger that there's almost too much change here? And you look at, say, Arsenal, who have also had a very positive transfer window, but haven't changed as much, haven't brought in as high volume of players. Do you think that potentially puts Liverpool at a disadvantage in this title race, or do you still see them being, clear favourites?
Super good question. Okay, the way Liverpool are going to play this season is going to be quite different to how they played last season, if only because you don't have the player as singularly brilliant as Trent Alexander-Arnold. However, you still have, quote unquote, the best player in the league in Mohamed Salah. So that always means you're going to start games, 40% towards scoring a goal already, such was his form last season. The fact that you've gone so, the proverbial was this, Liverpool have skipped leg day, right? They've skipped leg day with this transfer window, and that's really, really fun to watch. However, when you were that dominant in the Premier League last season, why not go all in? I think the fun thing if you're a Liverpool fan now is, it might take time to figure it out, but also in the time it takes to figure out, you're still going to be really fun to watch. The way Arne Slot adapted his 2-2-6 format from when he was the Feyenoord manager to making it work at Liverpool. Slot arrives at Liverpool and you're looking at all the notes between how he plays and you're like, oh, it's not too different from how Ange Postecoglou wants Tottenham Hotspur to set up. And then very, very quickly, Arne Slot's going, no, change this, do this. The fact that he managed to look at a player like Ryan Gravenberg, who was used as a number 8 or a number 10 under Erik ten Hag or Thomas Tuchel, and gone, nope, you're press resistant, you're now number 6, and managed to get that integration
Instant
working.
Results, yeah.
Right? Like he's a coach. And that shouldn't sound such a compliment, but there are so many times now you're talking about people who are in charge of football clubs, and we can only play one way. If we don't play this way, we're going to have to make all these changes, where Arne Slot is adaptable in a way that makes him quite frightening if you're not a Liverpool fan. I think the thing about Arsenal right now is they have recruited very, very well, and they've absolutely strengthened in 2 or 3 places where you want them to strengthen. Getting in a striker, absolutely good, bang on. Getting in a wide player who can reduce the burden on Saka and also play on the left-hand side, bang on. I think Madueke is going to surprise a lot of people with how good he is. Getting in a player like Zubimendi, oh my God. Right. Nieve, you've watched him play before, right? This is a player who, I think they've got him for a bargain. I think he's so good. The question with Arsenal is, can we convince, or can the people around Mikel Arteta convince him to stop playing the same way? Because when you've got a player like Zubimendi, you've got a player like Declan Rice, you've got players like Timber, you should, in theory, let the handbrake go a little bit more and let more players run forward, because Declan Rice can stop a counter-attack. And I think that's a big thing. It's not necessarily recruitment for Arsenal, but can Mikel Arteta release the handbrake a little bit more and then tell more of his players, just go for it? Because that's what they need to do, start doing more. Now, I think it's now start beating teams up and start going for it a lot more.
I almost disagree a little bit in a way.
Go for it.
In that I think that Arteta's established a really good way of controlling football matches, and the sheer amount of chances they create within those games. It could genuinely be as simple as a presence like Gyokeres in the box, who can finish those chances, but not just finish them, but actually, like, his natural instincts are to run into the bits of space that open up, and they didn't really have that in the box as a presence, but yet Saka would still be putting in pass after pass in there. So you might even just see the by having the right players in the right places, they might be able to still continue being that suffocating, controlling team that they are, which actually suits a lot of different types of games. And then just purely having the right players could be what takes them over the line with goals.
Yeah, and I guess another question with Arsenal is how essential is it, do you think, that they sign that left-sided attacker this summer? Or do you think Zubimendi and Gyokeres are big enough game changers to kind of take them to that next level?
Well, there's reports they're interested in Eze. I think with Eze, what's really exciting about him is it's just how direct he was. I've been talking about this recently to someone. I think the signings that they're making are maybe focused on just speeding up, getting up the pitch a little bit when they've got the ball in their own half and they need to get up the pitch. And what's really exciting about Eze is that he is really comfortable everywhere on the pitch as well. And if you sign someone like him, I think Odegaard not necessarily sometimes liking to be a bit further back and have a view of the pitch and basically create, that actually might help him a little bit as well, instead of, this idea of, I know there was often talk with pundits of, could Odegaard be a bit braver? Could he get in between the lines? Well, maybe an alternative way of fixing that is not to force him to do that, but actually to have someone else there who can sort of help with that.
Yeah, well, it'd certainly be interesting to see, what happens over the next week with, City interested in Rodrigo as well. Like you say, I feel like Arsenal fans might be a bit anxious that these Tottenham links have resurfaced. Is there anyone else, in that top bracket of teams you've been impressed by? Chelsea, Man City? Do you think either of those teams have, put themselves in that conversation for a title race this season?
Yeah, they all four. I think all four of them have. Yeah, all four of them have.
Yeah, absolutely. I think City have. It's quite weird to talk about City's transfer window because it's had such a long tail, because they spend a lot of money in January. Then you spend money on players that had their debuts at the Club World Cup. Then you spend more money afterwards. So I mean, there was that one week where everyone was super excited about Ryan Cherki. Then he plays at the Club World Cup, and I think maybe the conversations die down a bit and we'll have a little restart again, 2 or 3 games of the season. Like, oh yeah, he's here. He's here. He's going to lessen some of the creative burden on Phil Foden. It'll be really interesting to watch. I think it's deeply unwise to bet against a Pep Guardiola team, especially when they have spent the money they have, and Guardiola likes to have aces in places, so to speak. So they've got a critical mass of talent there, so they're going to be there or thereabouts. And then, I mean, Chelsea, look, Chelsea are always one of the bigger movers and shakers in the transfer window now. I think Delap and Pedro, two excellent signings to help take that front three to the next level. You can criticise how they do it, but the way they have accumulated all these young players on fairly affordable contracts as well means that they have a surplus of talent and also a surplus of different types of football player in certain positions as well. Like do you want your fullbacks to invert? Okay, you can play Cucurella and then you can play someone else. Do you want your fullbacks to get on their bike and really, really overlap? Okay, then it's Malagusto time. Do you want your left winger to do this one or this one or this one? They've always got a left winger to do all those different kinds of things. Again, can look a little bit silly if you're not a Chelsea fan, but I think they will definitely be in the top 5 causing damage to other teams.
Also important to note with Chelsea that with these signings that if you look at the outgoings and the fees they've got as well, they've compensated there massively. So if I'm completely honest, I think you take this season, if you look at this season, I don't really understand criticism towards them. I think maybe it just stems from when we didn't really know, when there was an unknown in the last couple of years, the way that they approach things. And sometimes when something's unknown, we criticise. And then once you start criticising, I'm not sure, maybe people don't like to go back on that criticism and sort of stand firm on it. Whereas, I don't know, I feel like I think that now we're starting to understand how they operate and how they're working. I don't actually think there is... Do you criticise or
no? I would agree. I think there are a number of players who Chelsea have sold this summer who a year or two ago lots of people were thinking how do they sell them if they don't work out, and Chelsea have managed that, haven't they? So it does feel like the first time where we've seen an evidently kind of sensible window from them in terms of their net spend, in terms of the sales that they've made. I mean, managing to get Armando Broja out for what, £20 million or so is an absolute
Everton for 25 million, nearly the price you bought him in. The structure of their contracts was unusual, and everyone sort of raised their eyebrows at 8-year deal. This is odd, but it has aided them in the transfer market and make moves. I think going into this summer, perhaps the people that were critical of Chelsea expected them to calm down, and I think there's always that sort of, after the splurge, you then calm down and simmer down. But I think what Chelsea recruitment team, Enzo, however you want to describe it, I think they've also quite correctly identified, okay, we've had a splurge, but that doesn't necessarily mean some of the players we bought 2 years ago are still suited to this project. Can we move them on quickly? So yeah, they've very quickly gotten on to the fact that Dewsbury-Hall perhaps isn't fit for purpose what Maresca wants, so they moved them on very, very quickly. The longer you stay on the train, the further it takes you, or more expensive for you to get back home. So they're very quick, no, get off now, do this. And yes, it can look silly of saying they're still making signings or they're still doing this. But I think what they've just done is just course corrected really, really quickly and really, really smartly. So you're not getting players in this sort of bloated bomb squad, so to speak, because they've just gone, no, you, sorry, didn't work out. We made that. Perhaps didn't work out from what we wanted 2 years ago. You can say goodbye. I mean, you can look at a player like Nkunku, who was very, very good for RB Leipzig, then had the knee injury. And while he was very, very effective for Chelsea in that Conference League run, probably isn't going to get into that first team. And therefore, it looks like he might be on the move. You're looking at Nico Jackson's situation. I think he's a very, very good striker. I think he could do a very, very good job for loads of teams in the top 10 of the Premier League. But it seems that relationship is coming to an end. So Chelsea have just gone to Nico Jackson. You can leave if you want to. And again, because Nico Jackson's contract and the way it's structured and how much he's being paid a week is... let's call that friendly. It's a lot easier for him to be moved on quicker than, say, a player like Jadon Sancho at Manchester United. So yeah, it is a bit weird that Nico Jackson's on the move so quickly. However, Chelsea can do that a lot quicker than other clubs because of the strange, unusual, bespoke way they've set up that squad.
And I mean, given that his record as well, they stand to make a decent profit on him as well if he goes. I mean, you speak about Jadon Sancho there, you speak about avoiding a bloated bomb squad. We've got to touch upon Manchester United quickly. I mean, yeah, still, working out Garnacho, that Chelsea move looks like it's more and more likely to happen. But then the incomings, on paper look pretty exciting, right? What have you made of Manchester United summer?
Blimey, where'd they get all that money from? In short. So, Matheus Cunha, first signing, 62.5 million from Wolves. Release clause activated, boom, done. That's your left side of 10. Situation sorted out that makes a lot more sense now when you realise the Manchester Five, as they were called, included Jadon Sancho wants to play on left wing, Marcus Rashford, most comfortable left interior, Alejandro Garnacho, most comfortable left side interior as well. So 3 players in your bomb squad on that left hand side, and they brought in Cunha. So like, okay, these ones are on, these ones in. The Bryan Mbeumo link was one that, if you're a Manchester United fan who went to Bilbao and was very disappointed about how they played against Tottenham Hotspur, I think that was one that dragged you back in and going, ooh, maybe Manchester United are being serious again. And the negotiations took a while, and I think that caused some concern, but to get that deal finally done was a big tick for everyone in and around the football club. And then, every single noise and expectation and conversation we had from people in the know around Manchester United was, once these 2 signings were through the door, it was going to be sell to buy. So then all the conversation was about which members of this Manchester Five were going to be moved on. Marcus Rashford's taken this loan to Barcelona, and that wage bill is going to be taken off. And then you're going, okay, so it's going to be a waiting game for a player to come in, and that player might not necessarily be a big spend. And then it's Sesko, which was a complete what are you going on? I think on more than one occasion, I said I didn't believe Sesko was coming, so here's my shoe. I'm going to eat it later. The fact that not only has he arrived, but also Manchester United have beaten Newcastle United for his signing has really put a spring in the step of Manchester United fans. On Saturday, I was at their final pre-season game against Fiorentina, and the sun is shining in Manchester, which means everyone's happy. But also there was just this palpable excitement over the fact that Manchester United have bought a striker pretty much bought out of the blue, beating the club, the Champions League football in Newcastle to get him. And also, he might, hopefully, fingers crossed, solve the long-standing issues they've got at centre forward. So a brand new front 3, that's really exciting if you're a Manchester United fan. And now this conversation with intermediaries, the will they, won't they with Brighton over Carlos Baleba. I have no idea if Baleba will arrive. I also have no idea how Manchester United are going to fund that payment.
Yeah.
I think it sounds as if Manchester United have opened up a new revolving credit facility. We won't know for sure how much money is in that revolving credit facility for a couple more weeks, but it sounds as if they've opened up. Essentially, they've got a new credit card, and that might help pay for a player. So this is a summer where they've got a brand new front 3, and they are at least looking at central midfield. Which, if you are a Manchester United fan who sorely misses Michael Carrick and keep going, get a midfielder. The fact that they've gone, oh yeah, we're going to get one. It might be Baleba. Super positive. Yeah. Manchester United are going to have a real fight on their hands to finish in the top 5, I think. But it won't necessarily be from their own inadequacies in the transfer market. That might have to do more with the fact that everyone else who finished in the top 5 places has also made some pretty good moves there. Newcastle, perhaps. I know Newcastle fans aren't necessarily happy, so maybe Manchester United fans are going, maybe you can Newcastle. But yeah, this is the really interesting era of the Premier League now, where you've got 7, maybe 8 football clubs who are fighting really, really hard for 5 spots. But Manchester United seem to be putting themselves in a really good position. Nieve, what do you think of your Manchester United signings?
Yeah, like you say, they're doing everything they can. Of all the non-relegated clubs last season, only Everton scored less goals than Manchester United. So they needed goals, so they've gone and got the players to get goals. I think that the quality and level of player is really impressive. And I think as well, Jim Ratcliffe, he sort of knows what to say alongside making these signings to really sort of hype up the project, hype up the direction, which you have to do. On account of what we saw towards the end of last season in the league, and then obviously in Europe in that final, it had to have been a real effort to get momentum and positivity back up. But they've done it. They've somehow found a way. And then I think what it's sort of, if they get Baleba or not, it's almost, even that is a positive. The fact that, the rumour mill is that he does want the move, Baleba, and sort of with Sesko choosing them as well. It's just that power of Manchester United, and the team just looks a lot fresher as well from what I've seen over the summer too. So I think that there's a lot of positivity that should be there.
On Baleba, do you think United, regardless of whether they can get Baleba this summer, do you think they need to move for a central midfielder of some description? Because of course that's where probably most of their problems defensively lay under Ruben Amorim.
Yeah, and I think if they got a little bit of athleticism and movement in that area, the domino effect on their other midfielders might be beneficial. And maybe Bruno might not feel he needs to do quite as much moving around the pitch, which you could get more out of him. And I think it could suit Mainu as well, to have someone like that around him. With Baleba, I think if it was me, if I knew I could get him next summer, which this is the problem, you don't. If I knew I could get him next summer, I'd give one more year of Brighton, because I think Baleba's such a talent. His ceiling is just so high, but he is still really raw. If you look sort of beyond compilations as such, and you look at those full 90s, you know, there are moments where he's a bit maybe erratic. He'll lose the ball in a position where, when you play for United, that's going to be inspected. You can't lose the ball in that position. Or when there might be a moment where he's not in it and it plays around him, sort of thing. So I think with him, it could be a case of we just need to get him so that none of the other Premier League clubs get him, so we've got him. So if they could have afforded to be patient, then that would have been potentially good. But yeah, he's still just an amazing player to get. And like you said, I think it's a position where they ought to get someone.
Yeah, it certainly feels like maybe you think maybe Liverpool or even Man City would maybe come sniffing for Baleba in the next 12 months or so. So yeah, I agree with you on that. So there we have it. That's our kind of quite comprehensive roundup of the transfer window. Everton and Sunderland are two winners. Who would have seen that coming at the start of the summer? Let's move on now to our Sky Mobile switch of the week. Each of us pick our favourite completed or potential deal to arise from the last 7 days. Nieve, which transfer has caught your eye?
At the moment, that Jack Grealish one, which funnily enough, Everton, it's just... Because like you said, I think it's important that they make signings and retain players to keep a bit of stability going into a new stadium. I think keeping Branthwaite and Tarkowski as a partnership is really important, for example. But I do think having someone to be excited about, and this feels like when they signed James Rodriguez, it feels like that really exciting name that's been brought to the club. And I think Grealish, at his floor, elevates Everton. And then the more out of Grealish you get will be the more pleasant a surprise in terms of, you know, what he can bring to them. Because I think we might have forgotten even how good Grealish actually can be, and I really hope we get to see it. I really do.
The idea of Grealish linking up with Thierno Barry, and then potentially Everton can, I know they've inquired for Tyler Dibbling at Southampton, if they can get that together. That's a lot of legs running at pace. You can imagine that in your brand new stadium, those sort of really clever counter-attacks and 1-2 interchanges. That could be really, really exciting to watch if you're...
It's a proper grafter as well, Grealish, on the pitch, which I think will really suit Everton to have that talent, that name, but someone's going to get stuck in for them as well. Yeah.
I think a Jack Grealish working on Moyes, and Moyes is just saying, run at that guy, run at him, and then when they get sucked in, give it to these two, give it to these three. Don't be afraid to take on people. Don't be worried about losing the ball necessarily in the same way that perhaps it's been a concern when you're at Manchester City. There is real potential there. I hope he can stay fit. I hope he gets the consistent minutes. And I just hope he could kick on. It's a World Cup year and he absolutely will want to play in that World Cup squad. He's already spoken about how hurt he was that he didn't make the Euro 2024 squad. So, yeah, Jack, good luck to you. I hope it works out well.
And if Tyler Dibbling does happen, then he was compared to Jack Grealish, wasn't he, when he broke through.
Although I think that's down to the low socks.
Yeah, maybe it's a little bit that. But it would be great to see them both in the same team. Absolutely. Carl, what's caught your eye this week?
Another Manchester City player, McAtee, looking like he is closing in on a deal to Nottingham Forest. And that's one where you're like, oh, yeah, great, big tick, boom, done. He's so good. He was really, really, really impressive for England at the under-21 Euros. He's able to play as a number 8, able to play as a number 10. I think
on the right as well.
And on the right as well. And I think if you're Nottingham Forest, Nuno we know how this Nottingham Forest team wants to play, because they were going to play a lot like how Wolves used to play on the Nuno, which is you're going to be really, really tricky and annoying and combative in the middle. They can spot midfield, they lay midfield traps really, really well, and they're going to be very, very direct down the wing, and they've got a really nice striker who's very effective in the box. So they do need reinforcements out wide. So it's great they've held on to Callum Hudson-Odoi, but losing Anthony Elanga meant there's space for another player. I think McAtee can do that very well. Also, the fact they're playing twice a week now, they'll be playing the Europa League. That's now been confirmed after the Crystal Palace lost their appeal with Cass. So they're in the Europa League. So they're on that Thursday-Sunday treadmill, which means you do need backup at number 10 to take over in those games or in those minutes where Morgan Gibbs-White might be breathing a little heavily. And I think that McAtee can help there as well. The fact that he can also play in deeper areas too, which means if Elliot Anderson, who is just super fun, real, like, are you an 8, are you a 6, or are you a 10? And Elliot Anderson's going, yes. And so I think he's really good cover for Anderson, for Morgan Gibbs-White. He can play on the right-hand side. He fills loads of roles. And also, I think this prospective £25 million fee sounds like a bargain. If you're in Manchester City's recruitment team, you should probably stick a buyback or a sell-on clause on that, because he's, Anyway, that's the deal. It's not yet confirmed. I've not had the big David Ornstein siren in the sky confirming it yet, but it looks to be on its way. And if it does happen, I think he's going to have a really nice season at Nottingham Forest.
He's the sort of name that wouldn't shock me if he was on lists for about 10, 12 Premier League clubs. Like, he's just there. So whoever gets him, it's a big one.
Yeah, and certainly from his time at Sheffield United as well, we know that he can perform in a team that isn't necessarily full of technical monsters like Man City as well. Both great picks. We'll finish off quickly with my pick. We've spoken about him already, but a bit of an obvious one: Benjamin Sesko to Man United. I do think it is a huge move. No matter what goal output we get from Benjamin Sesko this year, I think it is a real statement of intent. And already there are people throwing doubt on it because of Man United's record with big young signings like Sesko. But I think compared to Højlund, who'd had really half a season of real top level experience before he went to United, Sesko's hit double figures in his last 3 senior campaigns. Been very impressive at Leipzig in a difficult season last year. He did blow hot and cold, but he wasn't actually their main number 9. He was kind of playing as a second striker to Lois Openda. The technical ability's all there, still very raw, but like you said, Carl, it really did come out of the blue. No Man United fan would have been expecting that at the start of the summer.
He's exciting, and sometimes a football player comes along and they are so visually arresting at a certain thing that when you describe them, you can sound like a child. So what's Kylian Mbappe good at? He's really quick. What's Benjamin Sesko good at? He's really quick and he's really tall. He's 6'5", and his vertical leap is. He's already spoken about how he loves basketball, and then you see him jump for a header, and you're going, maybe you should have played basketball instead, because he's got hops. And I think if you're a Manchester United team that, for quite a little bit of time now, hasn't really whipped in loads of crosses and hasn't really had a striker who was dominant in the air. Cristiano Ronaldo returned, and he's one of the greatest headers of all time. So you had that little mini spurt. You've had a little bit from Zlatan Ibrahimovic and maybe a little bit from Edinson Cavani, but there hasn't been someone in there season after season going, if you put it up in the air, he's going to nod it in. So the idea of Sesko not only running halfway line to the final third at a speedy rate, but also just jumping in the air like he's a extra out of Space Jam before crunching at the back post. That'd be fun. That'd be fun.
Yeah, certainly. You can certainly see why Mikel Arteta was so keen on him, given Arsenal's set-piece exploits. So it'll be interesting to see, whether Sesko comes back to Brighton on Sunday.
It's so fun that on Sunday it's going to be Victor Gyokeres of Arsenal up against Benjamin Sesko of Manchester United. I mean, if I told you that, at the end of May, Nieve, if I said Gyokeres and Sesko are going to be in the Premier League, you'll be like, okay, so Gyokeres is probably going to United and Sesko's probably going to Arsenal. But the fact they've just done the big switcheroo, a bit of fun.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point, though. All the Premier League teams they're making such good transfers. Like, I must admit, this is the most excited I've been going into a season in a long time, because there's just so much talent that we get to see.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a very, very fun transfer window. Most fun I can remember in a long, long time. That's all we have time for, though, unfortunately, on the Sky Mobile transfer show today. Thank you, Carl, for joining us on your debut. Hopefully see you soon.
Hopefully.
Yeah, and good luck with the start of the campaign. Nieve, thanks again for joining us. Remember that with all the transfers going on between clubs this summer, it's never been easier to transfer your network to Sky Mobile. All you need to do is text PACK, that's PAC, to 65075, 65075, and Sky Mobile will do the rest. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.